What's up, everybody? I'm Mckenty. This is my second channel, and this is your home for my Twitch highlights and my podcast. So if you like this and you want to see more of that and you want to join the live streams, there's a link to that in the description of this video. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. Let us talk about the new Slipknot song called the Chapeltown Rag, which, to be honest, I was not expecting to be this good, but it is. Let's listen to it and then we can talk about it. Cool little drum and bass intro here. Heavy as shit. Listen to this. Got a blast beat. This part's even pretty cool. Love Sid stuff on this. Yeah, I agree with this. The song sounds like it's gonna fall apart at any moment. Exactly. In a good way. The reason I said I wasn't expecting too much is because their last album, We Are Not Your Kind, was it was good, but it didn't blow me away. I was like, oh, it's a pretty good Slipknot album. Especially considering they've been around for 25 years now. And like, how can you expect a band 25 years into their career to be as good as they were at their peak, right? I mean, especially like a heavy band. But I would say that they did it with this song. I think this song holds up to, anything that they did. It sounds like Iowa to me, which I never believe because bands always say, oh, this is our heaviest shit in years. And this is like a return to the old days. And then you listen to it and it's butt rock. So I'm always skeptical when people say that. But in this case, it seems to be actually true. The other reason that I was skeptical is because the last thing that any member of this band released was this, which is one of the worst things I've heard in years. Makes me want to hide because it's so bad and corny. You got to do this. Corey motherfucking Taylor. Applebee's banger. Yeah, this is like truck commercial, Applebee's commercial music. That's true. We haven't heard anything from his solo album since. Maybe he wisely decided to just let that one die on the vine. Needs more trumpet. This was my last impression of anything involving Slipknot. And so with that being said, I was not confident that Corey Taylor or anybody else in Slipknot was necessarily going to deliver the goods, but they did. They delivered the goods with this one. This really does sound like it is off of Iowa. It is pissed. It's heavy. It's chaotic. I mean, that's one of the things that to me defines a lot of the older Slipknot stuff is just like how loose and wild it was. I'm pretty sure that they recorded a lot of that early stuff without a click track. Which for most bands is a bad idea, but for them is great because it's like throwing a drum set down a flight of stairs in the best way. Like the band they just sound fucking pissed. I don't know any other way to put it. And I wouldn't expect that from someone in their situation, right? I mean, these guys are like in their late 40s, early 50s. They're all rich. They're successful. To be able to like recapture that energy and intensity and aggression that they had, when they were struggling nobodies in 1999, that's pretty amazing, especially considering that they're missing two of the most important members of the band. Joey Jordison, obviously the drummer, who his style was such an important part of who they are. I made a whole video about this, but just barely controlled chaos was such an important part of who they were. That is not an easy person to replace, but I think they did it. Their drummer now is Jay Weinberg, Max Weinberg from, what late night show was he on? Max Weinberg's son. Jay Weinberg was also in Madball. He got kicked out for not being enough of a scumbag. Respect for that. That's a pretty good reason to get kicked out of a band, for being too square. But he's a fucking awesome drummer. I mean, Joey Jordison has such an incredible, distinctive style that to be able to, I don't want to say that he's like impersonating Joey, but he kind of is. I mean, you want the person who replaces Joey to just be Joey. It's impossible to really truly be Joey, but I think that Jay Weinberg did as good of a job as you possibly could of replacing Joey Jordison. So respect for that. They're also missing Paul Gray, the bassist who wrote a lot of their best stuff as well. Those were also their close friends. So for a band to be 25 years into their career and also missing two very important members of the band, to be able to come back and do something that sounds like the band at their best 20 years ago is fucking amazing. I'm impressed that they did it. Sid is their DJ, and I don't know what you call it. He does like synths and electronics and stuff. His stuff was a big part of their early stuff, like on the first album. I feel like Sid was a bigger part of that than he has been in a while. And he has a big presence in this song that I think is very welcome, that feels fresh, that makes it feel like more than just a metal song. It's got a lot of those electronics and that like drum and bass intro and stuff that feels very fresh and just kind of brings you back to that era of the band. This really does feel like Iowa again. It maybe even feels like something that could have been off their first album. I have nothing but good things to say about this. Even the clean singing part. You know, I typically don't like those clean singing kind of choruses in heavy songs or in nu metal songs. You know, especially coming off of Corey M. effing Taylor Must Be Stopped. You know, I was expecting Corey to do some big butt rock thing there. I'm not a fan of those parts, but I understand why it works. Like, that's part of the reason why Slipknot is as accessible as they are. Part of the reason why they're so commercially successful is because Corey does those kind of butt rock parts. But even that part in this song, let's listen to it again. It's not butt rock. I don't know what you would call it. It almost feels like Queensryche or Fate's Warning or that sort of like progressive thrash speed metal kind of thing or something. It's weird in a cool way. It's not just the straightforward butt rock chorus that you expect. It's this kind of just strange, odd kind of feel. Respect for coming back with the song that everybody wanted, right? This is the difference between Slipknot and Limp Bizkit. Limp Bizkit came back with something that's like, it's kind of sort of what we wanted, but not really. This is the perfect song for Slipknot to put out in 2021, right? It takes you back to Iowa. It feels real. It feels authentic. I would call this like a home run. They apparently have a new album coming out this year, and I'm fucking stoked for it. I'm excited. I don't expect every song in the album to be heavy. You know, they've done a good job on their albums of having the heavy song, the ballad, the kind of butt rocky anthem. I expect there's probably going to be like 3 or 4 heavy songs in the album, and that's cool with me if they're anywhere near as good as this. So hats off to Slipknot, and I'm excited for the album.